How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the vlog. We are once again here with the great Julian Placino.
What's happening, everyone?
And I wanted to dig in here a little bit with Julian. You know, this is his setup, right? Shooting content now, video for Pathways to Success. And he's got a very successful podcast, 74 episodes out.
74, yeah.
Yeah. And he took action on, he knew he had to do a podcast, got that going. And now you're taking that next evolution with that. And I wanted to dig into to why. I mean, you've had an amazing run already with the audio podcast. What's sort of the motivation here for this evolution into video and expanding the show?
So I got clues from the market that I have the potential to maybe succeed on video. The first thing is, starting this podcast really has transformed my life. It's made me a sponsored podcaster, professionally represented actor, model, keynote speaker, going to be an author. But it was this actor model thing that made me start to realize that the market seems to think I'm okay on video. Why? Because I got professionally represented by a very premier talent agency, Kim Dawson. So now I'm a professionally represented actor and also model. Both parts that are in front of the camera. And it's something I've always really enjoyed and something that I just known for a fact that to build credibility and a connection, video has just always been the best way to do it. So it really intersected with what I know video can do, what I like to do, and apparently based on what the market has told me something I could be good at.
That's great. I think you're right on with all of that. And part of this, I mean, it also comes down to just that little itch, right? It's just that little tugging on your...
I just love everything, like the camera, the lights, like ever since so Jason's been coaching me on like the equipment and stuff to get, and I love the gadgets. I love it. It's a bit of an addiction now, and I have to slow down because I'm too quick to invest money before I even know how to use
the first
things.
one's free, and then,
yeah, right. So I just love everything about it. I've always, I was thinking about way before I was into any of the stuff when I was a kid. I used to make videos, Jason.
Really?
I used to make lots of videos with the it was called the High 8. You remember High 8?
Heck yeah, we used that in college.
Yeah, I used to do that, and then now it's all just kind of come full circle. But back then it's like I never thought I could make a career out of it or anything like that. It was just like this silly thing. But that's how I know when I'm doing the right thing, because I love doing it. I'm passionate about it. It was something I've always wanted to do since I was a kid, and now here I am doing it. So. And
that's great. And I think. How I want to get your perspective on it.
Yeah,
because I have my own. But how great was stopping yourself from jumping in with YouTube? Because that was your first, before the podcast. You were going to do YouTube and video first, right? So how you feel about that decision and sort of putting the brakes on that?
I think it was a good decision because what I learned at that point in time in my journey of content creation is that it was going to be too heavy of a lift for me. I didn't have the appropriate equipment that I could use to start the YouTube channel. And I was just so ill-equipped technically that it would be too heavy of a lift. And for me, I know that complexity is the enemy of execution. And I just wanted to create something that was really good consistently over time. And that's what the podcast was. And Jason coached me how to start a podcast, and all I needed was my Focusrite, my 2 Audio Technicas, my laptop, and I'm set. Right? But I've been doing the podcast now enough where it's becoming automatic. And because of all the reasons why I stated earlier, because of the video, that's why I wanted to move the platform here. But it was absolutely the right move, not to mention just all the connections, like Cece. I met Cece through the podcast. And quite frankly, that part was what helped create a portfolio that I sent to Kim Dawson and get me signed. But that was it. The important thing for me at that time was to create quality, consistent content over time. And at that time, I just didn't have the skill set to do video.
Yeah, but what was amazing is that you still jumped in and did.
Yes, yeah. I've never been the most talented, the smartest person, or anything about anything really, but I knew I worked hard. I knew that I could impose a discipline on myself if I knew what the reward was, if I knew what the benefit was. And podcasting was my channel. That really got me started in creating this content. So
that's awesome. So, we just, we've shot some content and talked about, how to sort of optimize right now. And I think that's certainly what I recommend as well is taking one of those channels, getting really good, optimizing for one, and then expand. I think it's so valuable because you really, and I've done both, and I've done both at the same time, but I find myself, like right now with the show, I know I'm optimizing for YouTube. It's a very conscious decision. And so there's things that I could really tweak and do a little better on the iTunes side, on the podcast side, to get viewership or listenership up there. But it would be at the detriment of this other channel. So I really like the fact that you've gone in and optimized and grew that audio channel. And especially because there's a market, there's benefit now. It's not like, oh, let me do this for a while that no one's gonna find, and then I'll go do this. You get to win all along the way. So I think it's a great example of that.
I did have an audience. No one knew who I was, and that's what's really interesting about this medium as well. Is that just inevitably people will start discovering your content and sort of getting to know you. And the fact that it was consistent, people knew that I was for real. And yeah, I basically leveraged this and has built a platform, and also this idea of a personal brand that a lot of people talk about. I didn't know that's what I was building, but that's exactly what happened. Is I built a personal brand through the consistency of my content.
Oh yeah, and right now, I mean, something that YouTube, what you really got to do on YouTube to grow that channel is to bring people over.
Yeah.
You've got to bring people from Facebook, Twitter. So now you've done all that. You have an audience that you can bring over on a consistent basis and bring them to YouTube, which you get rewarded for, which is going to get you found a lot faster. So I think it's fantastic.
And it's exposing me to a different audience. Like the people that'll find me on YouTube won't know I have a podcast.
Exactly.
So,
and it's very different. It's very different audiences.
Yeah.
You know, I found there's some bleed over and things, but the people who will sit down and watch a video, or it's a very different audience who's like, all I do is listen and I'm on the go all the time. And so I think it's great. Well, I appreciate you sharing
Totally
this journey, what you've got going on, and wanted to pass along some of those real world examples there of somebody doing it and growing it, and we'll be watching along the way.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, man.
Love this, man. Appreciate it, Jason.
Absolutely. If you like interviews like this, if you like chats like this, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube, and we'll see you on the next one.